welcome to Healing Generational Trauma. My name is Nickita Starck. I'm a birth practitioner. Some of you might know me as the founder of When Push Comes to Shove, which is the world's only decentralized maternity structure. So we help women to navigate the system, understand physiological birth, and do this from a conscious place of trauma-informed care. I am a PhD researcher in lifestyle medicine, so I look at the emotional root cause of illness, and I am a trauma specialist. And what I'm going to talk about today is, well, I don't believe that anyone can heal anyone. You either meet someone where they're at energetically, or you don't. I'm just going to point. This might be quite triggering, but this is a good thing. Might be quite confrontational, but see how you get on. So, by show of hands, can anyone remember very clearly the last time they were triggered? As in, you got irritated by someone or something. Okay. Now, let me ask you a question and just shout out the answer if you know. Where do your feelings take place? Inside you or outside you? Outside. Inside you. So have you ever heard the phrase, they made me feel, he made me feel, she made me feel? So if they happen inside of you, how can anyone make you feel anything? Do we have an answer to that? What I want to show you today is a way to heal generational trauma, but before we start healing generational trauma, we have to start with us, to see what's in our quantum field, to see what we are carrying with us. Now, let's take you right back. Before we even look at your ancestors, this is a big task to actually undertake unless you start with you. So think of the last time you were triggered. We hear it all the time when we have conversations with people and connections. They made me feel. How did they make you feel anything? What they're doing is holding a mirror to a wound you haven't yet healed. So if I said to you, what a disgustingly ugly tail you have. Well, that's not true. You don't have a tail. You carry on with your life. But if I were to say something to you that really poked at a wound, you would react. Because as humans, we have this blessing and a curse, and it's called metacognition. And metacognition means we are aware that we are aware. Essentially, we have separation and we have ego. And the ego, all the ego does is it identifies with thought. It identifies with our scripts and our stories. And if the ego is to continue running the life, we are going to react. And we are going to use that ego as a sense of identity. We can find it in our religion. We can find it in, like, if I asked you who you were now, like, who are you? What would you say? Some people might say, I'm a sovereign divine being, which would be a very good answer. But maybe if I was speaking to people who weren't quite on the journey you all are, they might say, I'm a mother. I'm 38. I'm a Christian, or I'm a New Age, or that isn't who you are. That is what you do. Because at some point in your life, you weren't a mother or a father, and you weren't 38. That is not who you are. That is what you are doing. What I would like to show you today is to be the awareness behind the ego, rather than identify with the thoughts. Because if you identify with any script whatsoever, if someone holds a mirror to your unhealed self, you will fall. Now, let's start right at the beginning. As I'm a birth practitioner, I built When Push Comes to Shove in 2020. I free-birthed my baby. I've been a birth practitioner for 16 years, but I naively assumed people knew this, the inner work, that they knew that everything was a mirror. But they didn't. So I started to build When Push Comes to Shove as a decentralized option for women who didn't want to use the system, who wanted a sovereign way of birthing, to understand their bodies. But what I started to see, women were coming to me saying, the midwife made me feel. What do you mean the midwife made you feel? Where are your feelings? Inside or outside you? They're inside you. So what mirror did she hold up to you? If we do not deal with our core wounds, and there are only 3, we only have 3 core wounds. I'm not enough. I'm going to be abandoned. I'm going to be rejected. And if they are unresolved, The world, in all its beauty, will keep presenting us with opportunities to heal it. But we don't see that because no one teaches us. Instead, we blame the mirror. So when a very tyrannical midwife shows up to a vulnerable pregnant woman and says, you have to be induced because your baby is big, she'll go, okay. Now you tell me, a woman who has learnt to survive by being a people pleaser, who is living on an I'm not enough wound, who can't even tell her nail technician to stop when they're hurting her, how is she going to say no to a midwife who wants to induce, who wants to do a vaginal exam? She can't have autonomy. And we can listen to all the birth practitioners and activists we want. No is a full sentence. Yeah, that's really easy to say, but if you have learnt to be in survival mode from being a people pleaser, the world is going to present you with yet another mirror. Heal this. And it might take a different form. It might come in the form of a social worker. Oh, section 47, we don't like how you're raising your child. You're not registered with a GP. You had a free birth. You're not being vaccinated. Now, what we do is we blame the mirror. It's the system. The system, my friends, is a reflection of our collective consciousness. So we can't go into this separation of us versus them. It isn't true. It is an illusion. Now, I am in agreement that the maternity system is not fit for purpose. And I also see the maternity system is a reflection of our unhealed wounds. Why does the maternity system have such rigid shit guidelines? Because they're afraid of getting sued. Why are they afraid of getting sued? Because we sue them. Because we hand over our birth experience, we hand over our autonomy to professionals because no one has taught us to understand the process of a normal physiological happening within our body, and we hand it over to the system. We then blame the system when something goes wrong. Now, before I continue, I want to look at that word blame and fault, and can we try and bin it for a minute? What I want you to do is try and occupy a level of awareness here, not victim consciousness. And I don't mean, I don't believe anything bad's ever happened to you and you haven't been a victim. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is have some reverence and some love for yourself and understand, yes, shit has happened to you, but it is not who you are. I am not invalidating your bad experiences. I am validating your ability to transcend them. And instead of occupying a victim consciousness, oh, they did that to me, and typical, why? Where's it coming from? So let's go. So a woman has been coerced to have a C-section she didn't know she could say no to. She wasn't educated. She didn't know there were questions to ask. And that child is born into a sea of cortisol and adrenaline instead of oxytocin. Gloved hands, masked face. Push, push. If you've given birth physiologically, you know you don't need anyone to tell you to push. Imagine if you were throwing up. You're doing it wrong. Fuck off. So that is bypassed straight away. So how children come into this world, it's pathologized. So going back to what I was saying earlier, I assumed naively, foolishly, people knew this. And I thought, I've got to train these birth practitioners differently. So I train people to be natural birth practitioners, sovereign, not with the NMC, not doing all the clinical medical, because childbirth is a physiological process. And the very first module, they have to do the inner work. If we want to break free, the only way out is in. And we can continue going, where? The NMC, where? The maternity guidelines. But we are blaming them, and it is going to continue to perpetuate because we cannot fix a problem with the same level of energy that created it. We have to go within. So this poor child is brought into a baseline nervous system of cortisol and adrenaline. Mum has the wound of I'm not enough cemented even further. I did it wrong, I failed. Or the maternity system will say, come in for an induction, and they start you off with something called syntocinon, which is a synthetic form of oxytocin. It makes your uterus contract over and over and over again, unnaturally. Then you ask for an epidural, and the epidural contains fentanyl and bupivacaine. Not that anyone's ever told that. So the woman's lying on her back because she can't move, so they up the Syntocinon. And in the meantime, there is oxygen compromisation to the placenta. Baby goes into distress, and baby is delivered emergency C-section or a forceps or a ventouse delivery, and the system are like, look, we saved you. They started it, but the woman was too traumatized to see what was happening, so she goes into a state of Stockholm syndrome and thanks them for saving a baby from a procedure they started in the first place. So this is a child's baseline. Now, again, I'm going to remind you several times throughout this talk, let go of the word blame and fault. All I'm discussing here is a byproduct of unconscious parent to unconscious parent. I believe even in abusive families, you try your best, they try their best with the very shit tools they have. I don't know anyone that's sitting up at night, not many anyway, parents going, right, how am I going to piss off this kid? Oh, I'll ignore them. That'll show them. No one's doing that. Their behavior is driven from their unhealed wounds. So what I would like you to do today is see what your unhealed wounds are, so you can go within, so you don't go without, and so we don't raise any more children to grow up and need therapy. So, a child, when they come into this dimension, they have two choices. They remain authentic. They remember they're connected to source energy, to universal intelligence, to consciousness, whatever word you'd like to use, Gaia, God. They can remember that. And you can tell when a newborn baby remembers that. They are so present. They are authentic. But then they have a choice. They either remain authentic or they form an attachment. Answer me this. Any mammal, specifically humans, what happens to an infant if they don't have a primary caregiver? If they don't have a parent? What happens to a child if there's no one to look after them? They die. So the child inherently knows they need nurturing, they need a container. So they start to compromise their authenticity and choose an attachment. Now, I'm going to talk about trauma here, but I'm not talking about overt trauma. It does exist, of course, and we can't deny that. I'm not talking about witnessing a murder or sexual abuse. I'm talking about subtle trauma from unhealed parents who are then bringing the generational curse down to their children. And unless someone goes, oh, I'm not doing this anymore, it will continue to perpetuate. So let's say, for example, mum is out with her little 2-year-old Emily. La, 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 la. They're out walking, and they bump into someone. It's Uncle Phil. Emily, look, it's Uncle Phil. Give your uncle a cuddle. I don't want to give my uncle a cuddle. Give your uncle a hug. Now, if mum were honest, she would say this. Listen, Emily, I'm unhealed. I need external validation. I need codependency. And I need triangulation from Uncle Phil. Because if you hug him, he will look at me and go, oh, well done. She's doing exactly what you're telling her to do. Then I will get external validation from Uncle Phil, and I will have the illusion of safety. And then I'm people-pleasing. Okay. But she can't do that because she's unaware of her patterns. You're right, mate. So Emily thinks, I have to acquiesce to this. And I am going to hug Uncle Phil. Oh, God. Blah. And why does she do this? She needs an attachment. And there the wounds begin. If I don't do, I will be rejected. Okay, have we all heard this at some point? And we can look at this without judgment. Mum, I got a C. Why didn't you get an A? We've all heard this at some point. Okay, I'm not enough. Mummy, look what I've done. I'm going to be on this netball tournament. Yeah, I'll take you there. But anyway, I'm on the phone, blah, 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 blah. So mum's physically present, dad is physically present. They're taking me to the football games and the swimming and the whatever. But are they emotionally attuned? No, because they're unhealed and they're still in survival mode. So let's look at how this works on a physiological level. Let's say a deer runs out in front of a car and they nearly get hit. Because deer do not suffer with metacognition, they're not aware that they are aware. They go into fight or flight, of course, because they nearly get hit by a car, and they go into the sympathetic nervous system and they leg it and they get to safety. And then within 20 minutes, they calm down and they go back into the parasympathetic nervous system. We don't do that. We, under the age of 7, are in something called, Jesus Christ, my phone is ringing, so sorry. Before the age of 7, we're in what's called theta brainwaves, which is hypnosis. If I were to hypnotize you right now, your brainwaves would go into theta. This is why, are there any kids here? Oh, cool. Hi. This is why children believe exactly what they're told. I wasn't going to give an example then. Children believe exactly what they're told, and that becomes their identity. So when we say to children, good boy, good girl, oh, must be a good boy, must be a good girl. And then they get told, you are so naughty, you were in so much trouble, you were showing me up. What's their identity? They're like, well, what am I? What am I? Now, try this if you're parents. Instead of saying, good girl, good boy, say good choice. That's an external locus of identity instead of external validation. So children grow up with these tiny little subtle wounds, and they start to build this armor. And do you know what we call this armor? Ego. And ego has sub-archetypes. So we've got the givers, and the givers may show up as people pleasers, saviors, empaths, right? Let's look at the word empath. We celebrate empaths, don't we? And a lot of us will relate to one another. We're empaths, we're empaths. What about sociopaths? We don't like them, do we? Well, they're both paths. And they're born of the same wound. The empath has simply used a defense mechanism and a survival technique to be hypervigilant and scan the room. So they have tuned their frequency of feelings and feeling one another up, and sociopaths have tuned down. It's just a trauma response. But we separate, don't we? Boo, narcissist, yay, empaths. Now, empaths, they can feel other people's feelings. Of course they can, because they were trained to play small and accept scraps and be people pleasers. And I'm guessing anyone who identifies as an empath here, you will spot the unsafest person in the room at any given moment, and not only that, you'll make a beeline for them. Because you're going to fix them. And you are drawn to what is familiar. This is why we get very stuck in life. Well, I want to make more money. I want to have a loving relationship. But we don't, because subconsciously our inner child is going, no, stay with what's familiar, and this feeling is familiar. So what happens in life when this child has had their 3 wounds embedded? They will keep subconsciously finding form to project that. They don't do it consciously. That would be insane. But they will find in school a teacher to make them feel just as crap as the least favorite parent, and then they will start to blame the mirror. Empaths often find themselves with narcissists because they need to fix them. And the narcissist will end up with an empath because it's just a mirror of probably the least powerful parent that they can control. So we'll end up in these narcissistic relationships. I've been there lots of times because I was a savior. I just saved people. That was my role. And of course I needed to save people because I could not sit with how disgusting I felt. I could not go in. I had to go without. So the narcissist comes along, and then you understandably speak to a friend and you go, oh my God, they've made me feel this. Let's go back to that. Made me feel. Right, this is wildly uncomfortable. They haven't made you feel anything. They have held a mirror to a wound that needs to be healed. Now, if there was a physical representation of a wound, let's say this represents not enough. We heard it from women and men that come out of abusive relationships, and we hear things like they just chipped away at, pause, chipped away at what? Chipped away at what? If there was no, not enough wound, what are they chipping away at? And we hear it all the time on social media from psychologists. 10 signs of a narcissist. 10 red flags of a narcissist. Yeah, all right. Why don't we, instead of looking outside ourselves, 10 red flags of a narcissist, why don't we turn our attention inward to see what in us will attract a narcissist into our life? We are constantly being given tools to go outside ourselves, outside ourselves, outside ourselves. And we do this, I'll be happy when? Well, I'll fix this person and I'll be happy. I'll be happy when I get this new job. I'll be happy when I get this new car, when I have the boyfriend, when I have the child. Now, let's go into quantum physics. We have learned as a child that we need to go outside ourselves for approval, and we will keep chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing. So we are never actually present and in the moment. But we have two extremes, okay? So we've got the hippie camp on one side. I identify with a bit of this, by the way. And there's a lot of bypassing of feelings and in the body, because I don't wear shoes and I burn incense, so I'm fine. And I'm spiritually enlightened, right? That was me. I definitely did that for a while. I go to ayahuasca ceremonies, so I'm fine. Right, well, that's soothing. That's not healing. And ayahuasca and plant medicine, they certainly point at what you need to heal, but they don't do it for you. I'm going to go to a silent retreat. I shall be healed. No, that's soothing. That's not healing. Soothing comes in all forms. Then you've got people on the other side of the camp. Science, 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 evidence, 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 evidence. And we are all bypassing the body in one form or another. I'm here to try and just close that gap and make a bridge. We cannot heal what we cannot feel. So whether you're bypassing your trauma by lighting incense and drumming, or you're bypassing your trauma by looping in your head, oh, I've read the book and I'm definitely a disorganized attachment. Oh, I've read Joe Dispenza and I'm clearly in gamma. All right, then what? Just because you know how you are doesn't mean to say you're going to be healed, does it? The way we do that is in the body. Our body holds the score. And we can keep looking outside ourselves. I'm going to go to this healing modality and I'm going to go to yoga. Actually, no, screw that. I'm just going to scroll through Instagram to get dopamine hit. Or I'm going to get on the phone. Oh my God, this person said this and it made me feel this. I'm right, aren't I? Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Oh, validation. Remember earlier I was saying about the different types of egoic archetypes? You've got the givers, the people pleasers, because we've learnt that when we play small and we perform, we're good girl, good boy. And then you've got the controllers. Does anyone know a helicopter? I'm going to describe this. They're always buzzing, just there. Oh, are you doing this? Yeah, okay, right, well, I'm all right then. Oh, wait, stop doing that, stop doing that. They're always buzzing, making sure that someone is doing exactly what they want. It's really great and easy to be enlightened unless someone around you is doing something you don't want to do, right? So, right, I'm going to tell you a little story. So we keep looking outside ourselves to fix, right? It's maybe a ceremony or a course or whatever. And I'm not saying anything like this is bad, okay? But we need to see it for what it is. We've got inside stuff and outside stuff. And we need education of the mind, but education of the mind without the heart is no education at all. It's like saying, oh, a tomato is a fruit, but wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad. So we need to understand that there are two layers of this. Now, once upon a time, there was a manky old pheasant on a farm, and he looked at the top of this oak tree, and he longed to get up there. He tried really hard, but he was too old, too knackered. He couldn't get up there. And one day a bull just passed him and said, I know how you can get up there. You can eat my poo. And the pheasant was like, say what? That sounds disgusting. And I'm telling you, eat it. And tomorrow you'll be on that branch, and by the end of the week you'll be at the top. And he went, all right, fine. So he starts to eat the poo of this bull. And lo and behold, at the end of the week, he was at the top. He was like, oh, I did it. And then the next day, the farmer comes out and he sits on his rocking chair and he looks up and he sees an old manky pheasant and he gets his shotgun. Down comes the pheasant, dead, gone, done, zero. Moral of the story is, bullshit might get you to the top, but it won't keep you there. We cannot fix by external things. We cannot fix. We end up even getting some sort of therapy fatigue by reading all the psychology books, and there is nothing wrong with that. But just as you would not go to a mechanic to get your nails done, do not expect to heal by going outside yourself. Now, this is where I have come up with 5 steps. It is not a linear binary thing. There's variations for depending who's using it, but there are 5 steps, okay? And before we do this, is there anyone brave enough here to share their last trigger with me? And I want to walk through it with someone. If you don't want to, that's fine. I'll make some shit up. Yes, my darling. Do you want to come up here? Well done. What's your name?
Georgie.
Georgie. Let's give Georgie a round of applause. Thank you, my love. So, Georgie, can you picture your last trigger?
Yes, it was yesterday.
What happened?
So my husband asked me to do something. I work for him in a business together. He has to work away a few days a week, and he'd asked me to do this important thing for something that I'd already screwed up once. And I consider myself like someone who's been like praised, paid very, very well for these sort of tasks before. And I not only completely screwed up this task the first hand, costing nearly £1,000 in damages of something that I hadn't done properly, I then completely forgot to fix the thing when he asked me to. And when he got back, we were packing, and he was just like, there he is, you can hear me. There he is.
Hello.
And when we were packing yesterday, he was just like, oh, did you do that thing? And I was like, shit. No. And I felt awful. I felt useless. I felt disgusted with myself. I just felt like, why am I even here? Like, felt like
Give her some encouragement, please.
I felt all these horrible things like, why does he even love me? Why am I even around? And all these.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there, and I'm not invalidating the rest of the story. I just want to do something in real time, if this is okay. I'll go through the steps one by one in a minute, but let's just go through this with Georgie. Okay. Where do you feel this feeling? In your body? In your chest? Okay. I'm going to bet my bottom dollar that it's not a new feeling and it's old. Right. This is where the mirror comes in. So we have an outside, a perceived threat. So remember what I said earlier, when we're children, ultimately, if we don't get approval, we die because we're not authentic. So Georgie, what you're experiencing, I know this sounds really dramatic, your ego is actually scared you're about to die. That's what any trigger is. The ego's like, oh, I'll keep this woman alive. Oh my God, I've got to keep her safe. And it's just a perceived threat. Real threats are run by the amygdala. Oh my God, Stabby Joe's coming, right? And then you run off. That's a real threat. But I'm talking about a perceived threat. Oh, someone hasn't texted me back. Oh my God. And it comes here. It's perceived, it's not real. It's an illusion. It's just your perception. So, you feel it here? Okay. Right, let's start with step 1. Are you allowed to feel this? Okay, right. So step 1 is validation. Not validation with a script. I'm allowed to because he's a dick, or I'm allowed to because she's done this. I'm allowed to feel this. Okay? Step 2, name it. What is this? Is it dread or anxiety? What is it?
Dread, disgust, like feelings of like possible abandonment, all these different.
Well done, you've done better than most. You've realised which core wound it comes from.
Emotions wheel in our living room. Like, honestly, guys, get one of these. Like, really, really, really cheap. £10 off Amazon. Like, it's emotion wheels. It's got 3 layers of emotions, and usually I'm just in the middle one: happy, sad, scared, and then it goes round to the next layer, then it goes round to the next layer. So I just walked straight up to her and I was like, that.
Okay, well done. So you've named it. You've already told me this. Step 3 is locate it. So between your heart and your solar plexus. Okay. Ooh, here's the next step. You ready? Feel it. Right. We are perpetually taught to soothe. Get on the phone, get validation, scroll through Instagram, pick up my coffee, pick up my cigarette, pick up my glass of wine, pick up my spliff, pick up my magic mushroom, soothe, 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 because we cannot bear. But let me tell you, Georgie, underneath those disgusting feelings is you, the true you. Not Georgie that is identified with thought or form, or I'm doing this and my hair is like this and my husband is this name. You. All right? So that inner peace we're all searching for, it is under the wildly uncomfortable feelings we don't want to go to. I'm not going to ask you to do this now because I don't think it's appropriate. Because we have a wailing Georgie. Right. But it's just food for thought. Now, we can only do this when we feel safe. If you have extreme PTSD, it is not the time to do it. If you were crossing the M25, would you bend over to tie your shoelaces? Shit idea. Right, so we have to quickly scan the room. Am I safe? Am I about to be set on fire? No. Right, check in with yourself, check in with your safety. So step 4 is feel it. And you're going to want to resist it with everything you've got. Don't. Come back to the feeling, but don't hook in with your ego. Where they made me feel and they did this. Now, step 5, Georgie, this is why I want you here. Step 5 is reparent. So let me ask you, when you were little, Georgie, what's the youngest you can remember having that feeling?
It would have been like 4 or 5.
Right, because all core wounds, any trauma in adulthood is secondary. The primary trauma is before the age of 7 when we're in theta. Now, what did you need from your parents when you had that feeling that they didn't give you?
I mean, that's a difficult one because I had a very a lot of traumas come from my parents who were very verbally abusive.
So it's not difficult. What did you need from your parents that they didn't give you?
No idea.
Maybe attunement? Love? Okay, let me ask you this question. So it's an abandonment wound. Let's pretend little Georgie is standing right there. Would you abandon her?
No. Oh, no.
Would you reject her?
No.
Would you tell her you're not enough?
No.
Do that. That is how you reparent. When you get home, find a photo of yourself when you were little and save it on your phone as a screensaver or print it out and put it on your dressing table. That's who you're accountable to, okay? Thank you so much, Georgie.
Thank you.
Give Georgie a round of applause. Thank you, my darling. Every single one of you here, if you have access to a photo of yourself when you were little, put it on your screensaver or put it on your dressing table. That is who you're accountable to. I will give you an example of myself in real time. Now, some people call this the subconscious. I call it the inner child. So there I am on my computer. Oh, this is like January time. I'm going to book a holiday. And then my subconscious went, Nickita. I went, yeah? You can't go on holiday. Why? Because your business will fail and you'll be fucked. Oh, really? Yeah. I was like, what? Why can't I go on holiday? Because you're going to lose all your money. What? And for a minute, I nearly believed it. But it was my inner child going, help, you're doing something for you. You're doing something that is going to soothe and nurture and help you and expand you. Don't do that. You've got to play small and you've got to take shit from people. I didn't have the healthiest upbringing, let's say. I'm not going to go into it because it's just a story. But I was so used to running on this script, I don't deserve, I'm not enough. I had to go through the process. Oh, what am I feeling? I'm feeling crap. Are you allowed to feel like that? Yes. But without going, but they did and they did, blah, blah. What is it? Panic. Where is it? My heart space. Oh my God. Okay, feel it. That is horrible. You feel it with everything you've got. You, like you would in meditation, You don't identify with your thoughts, you just draw your attention to it. So you draw your attention to that part of your body, and you need to get underneath it. Underneath it is the real you. After a while, something amazing will happen. It will dissolve, and another layer comes down. Healing isn't cleaning a kitchen, putting things in different boxes and compartmentalizing. Imagine I'm holding a light bulb and the light bulb is covered in dust, but it's turned on. Healing is scratching a bit of dust and a bit more light shines through, and scratching a bit more and it shines through. We are slowly lifting the veil, the stories, the armor. And once we have that vulnerability to just be, oh, I feel like this, it's an old script, then we start realizing, no wonder that guy came into my life. No wonder that person cut me up in traffic. No wonder that person pushed in front of me in a queue in the post office. When we have the illusion of separation, us versus them, spiritual versus asleep, and we label, there's more separation. We have to unify, and it doesn't mean to say we need to agree with everyone. It doesn't mean to say, well, I'm going to stick around and I'm going to let you treat me like crap. No, there's boundaries, and there's knowing what aligns with you and what doesn't. It's about forgiveness, and I don't like this spiritual bypassing. No toxicity here, only positivity. Well, no, people are allowed to feel, and they have every right to feel, and their story matters, and their trauma matters. But what matters more is their ability to transcend it. And if we actually want to heal the world, we have got to stop pointing fingers and go within. Did you know there are levels of consciousness? Has anyone read the works of David R. Hawkins? Yeah. Okay. So those who haven't, there's a scale of individual consciousness and then collective consciousness. So we've got 0 down here, which is woe is me, the world is awful, the God view is punitive, I'm being punished, life is just terrible, and all the way up to a 900 to 1,000, which is the likes of Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Eckhart Tolle, who operate in this world or have operated in this world as if they were absent. There is no judgment, and the view of God, the self. So we are all connected, the ego drops, the veil just falls down. Now we also have a collective consciousness, and right now we're about a 200. And the only reason we're about a 200 is because of the people that have come in and have remembered who they are. Did you know if one person manages to reach a level of such awareness of no judgment and they're no longer blaming the mirror, that will have a ripple effect to 770,000 people? So we don't change the world by going, boo, let's sort out the maternity system. Oh, the police, rubbish, let's go and march. Let's do, I'm activist. No, go within. You need to see the mirror. The mirror is not blaming. The mirror is not saying that you are the same as them and your behavior is the same. The mirror is going, oh my God, what do I need to heal in me? Is this a not enough abandonment or a rejection wound? And once you start seeing the truth shall set you free. We cannot carry this. There was a study done on rats. Rats have metacognition too. That's why we experiment on them, because they're also aware that they're aware. And these rats were put in a cage and the door was left open. And every time the rats tried to leave, the scientist gave them an electric shock. So they stopped trying to leave. Those rats had babies. The babies were put into a separate cage. They had no experience of the electric shock, yet not one of them tried to leave. This is generational trauma. It will bleed into us, and we will bleed over people that did not cut us, unless we start to understand. There was a fantastic psychologist who was seeing this young man. He was about 21, and he was on the honor roll in Canada. He was an amazing sportsman. He was doing very well at school. And then one day, when he turned 21, he started waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. He was freezing cold. He could never get back to sleep, and he was suffering with insomnia. So the psychologist could not figure it out. He was like, where are the childhood wounds? I can't see it here, blah, 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 blah. And after about 6 months in therapy, he said, do me a favor, go and ask your family if there's anything you don't know about a relative. And amazingly, he came back and said, oh my God, I found out that my uncle, who I didn't know ever existed because he died before I was born, he was working on the pylons in Canada, and during a snowstorm, he had to go out and fix one at 3 in the morning. He fell and he froze to death. And he did it at 21 years old. This man had remembered on a cellular level his uncle's trauma. So he woke up at 3, the time he died, and freezing cold and shaking. Once he understood where it's come from, he could let it go. Now, that doesn't mean to say you need your family history, but what it does mean is you need to know where in your body this is. Where are you feeling it? And feel it. The body is so intelligent, and this is what brings me on to what I do in lifestyle medicine and understanding the emotional root cause. I remember I was teaching a group of CEOs, and they were like business leaders and entrepreneurs, and there was a young lady there, and she was trying to find out how she can be more confident in her leadership in her sector because it's quite male-dominated. And I said, I think we need to change the question here. I said, feel confident. Why aren't you confident in the first place? And then we went through my Starck method. I said, where are you feeling this? And she said, here. And I went, do you have thyroid problems? And she went, yeah. I said, right, you got trouble with boundaries? Speaking up? Yeah. This is where all physical ailments and disease starts. If you do not process in your body what needs healing, the energy of that trauma will stay in a certain part of your body. And if the terrain of your body is right, you will get ill. So I will take a good example. 2 people may have had the COVID-19 vaccine. Same batch. One is not saline. One gets a really horrific adverse reaction. One doesn't. Why? Can you think of why? If you store your trauma in your heart chakra, so we know for a fact, if we look at lifestyle medicine, if you store your trauma here, this is unprocessed grief. It might not be about someone dying, it might be grief of the parent you wished you had, grief of the childhood you wish you have. If that is unprocessed, it will go here. Women internalize self-hatred, men push love away. Men push love away, they end up with heart issues. Women internalize self-hatred, we see breast cancer. Go down to the solar plexus, if we hold all our trauma here, we will see pneumonia, we will see asthma, we will see respiratory problems. Go down a little bit further, women do this a lot, they store their unprocessed trauma in their root chakra. And we will see endometriosis, we will see polycystic ovaries, IBS, colitis. And come up here, if we have trouble with anything to do with boundaries, speaking our truth, or we all know people that speak too much because they don't like what the silence holds. Thyroid problems, constant tonsillitis. Here, vision problems, that's your third eye. If it's stored here because someone along the way has taught you that your intuition is not valid, maybe you've been gaslit a lot in your life, that will shut down. Maybe eyesight issues, nasal problems. Men get this more than women, but at the crown chakra, if they overthink everything, if they are in a loop, in a trauma loop of, oh my God, has anyone ever in their life gone, did I just say that? And then they overthink it for the rest of the day. Oh my God, they must think I'm a total asshole, blah, 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 blah. Migraines, headaches, brain bleeds. We need to have energy flowing consistently through our body. This is why paying attention to different parts of your body, where you're feeling it, and actually feel it, on the other side of that is freedom. Now, this is not binary. Some people have got such severe PTSD, it would not be a good idea to do this process. I have a course called the Unity Project Mega Course. It's a 90-hour course that trains you, whatever sector you're in, whether you're in music industry, the film, architecture. It's basically to expand consciousness by being a healing facilitator for wherever you are in life. Now, if you've got extreme PTSD, doing anything somatic, you can actually end up with an extreme reaction, like heart palpitations, thinking you're going to have a heart attack. That is not the time to do it. We need to regulate the nervous system before we go into the Starck method. So, hang on, let me check what time I'm at, because I don't want to keep... Oh, we've got 15 minutes left. Do you know what? I'm going to use this time for a quick Q&A. If anyone's got any questions. Anyone want to share anything? Yes, my love. Autoimmune.
This, my belly,
Mm-hmm.
it's been growing.
Yeast.
It's really weird. It's sort of happening last summer when I was really stressed. I've been sort of like creating my whole life, but it does like get worse. And it's autoimmune, so I just don't.
Okay, so autoimmune, anything to do with autoimmune is your body is so overwhelmed at what you think you should be doing and who you think you should be, and you're constantly looking outside for, I should be doing this. That's your autoimmune problem. So if you're constantly looking outside yourself and you need validation, oh, I don't know which direction to go in, how can your hormones regulate? They don't know how, because they're getting signals from you, as above, so is below. If you look at someone who's got endometriosis, I can bet my last dollar that that woman has not got a safe mother figure in their life. They don't know where they stand, and at the very least, unpredictable. They don't know how to root themselves in any sort of safety. Before anyone can heal, they must feel safe and loved and wise and have a container for someone to heal them. This is why all core wounds start before the age of 7. I mean, I have women come to me with birth trauma, and it's a very confronting thing to hear that birth trauma is a secondary trauma. It's not primary. So if you learnt when you were a child to people please, to not speak up because it's dangerous to speak up, you will end up in a situation where you're not going to be able to voice what you want to say, and there will be a cascade of interventions, and you end up just doing what you've always done and go, oh, fuck it. Because you don't know how to be safe in your own body. Yes, my love.
You were just talking about everything happening under the age of 7, or a lot of the catalysts starting then. I was brought up in an area where if you were a good girl, and my parents loved me, I've had an amazing life, but I'm addicted to sugar. And my parents and my mum used to say to me, if I'm a good girl, you can have some sweets.
They pacify you.
Under 7, I don't even know if it was to pacify, because I wasn't a naughty child particularly, but
you did learn conditional love.
Yeah, but that I can see that spiraled through, because whenever I eat sugar, I think I've been a good girl. And actually, I know.
Yeah, well done. See,
so how do you undo that?
Right.
I'd love to undo that.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable and sharing this with everyone here. So if you didn't hear, this lovely lady, what's your name?
April.
April said she had a lovely childhood, but she was given sweets all the time if she was a good girl, right? So straight away, that's conditional love. If you are good, I will reward you with. That's external validation. So it's not surprising as an adult, you get a sense of soothing from eating sugar.
Yeah.
And it's like a dopamine release. Yeah. So we don't do this by strict. Like there was an amazing guru, a Christian came to him, and this was a Hindu guru, and the Christian came to him and said, I've got terrible addictions to pornography, to alcohol. And because he was used to a very dogmatic approach, you have to stop doing that, you're sinning, blah, blah, blah. He was very surprised to hear the guru say, okay, keep drinking until you don't need to drink anymore. All right, we'll keep watching porn until you don't need to watch porn anymore. Because, again, it goes back, all suffering, listen to this very carefully, all suffering is an attachment to an outcome. Think about that. All suffering is an attachment to an outcome. Even when you're in pain. This is why a woman can have an ecstatic birth, because they are not trying to get out of the moment, they just are. You have to be the epitome of a human being, not a human doing, not a human becoming. My cat broke his foot this week, because he's not all there anyway, bless him. I don't know how he did it, but he broke all 4 metatarsals in his little paw. And I noticed, I was watching, I was like, well, the poor little sod's clearly in pain, but he's not suffering. And the only reason he's not suffering is because he does not have an attachment to an outcome. Well, when I go to the vet, I'll feel better. When I get the morphine, I'll feel better. We do. So going back to your sugar, how to get out of it, you don't need to start setting, I can't do this, I need to eat keto. That is from ego, and it won't last, because eventually you'll go back into the pendulum of self-soothing. So my advice would be, when you go to eat, it's just levels of awareness. Don't scorn, don't scold yourself. What in this moment is so uncomfortable that I have to numb? You will not change any habit until you understand where it's coming from. So I had the same issue with overeating. And I realized as a child, I could control what I ate, but I couldn't control my mother. And smoking and eating was something I could control. So I used it to soothe. Now, it's no point going, right, stop, that's it, I'm never doing this again. It's just the level of ego, and it will just loop, and the anxiety will keep coming and coming. It's about making a different choice in every given moment. That's it. You can go, oh, why is this moment no good for me? Why is this moment so bad that I want to get to the next one and through this chocolate bar or through this cigarette? That is just not being present, because we have been taught our entire lives to soothe and soothe. And when we do ask for help when we're children, let's say a kid falls over, and I'm not saying, again, this is not blame. The parents don't mean to do any harm. Oh, get up, you're all right, you're all right. All right, so I don't matter. And my uncomfortable feelings are making you uncomfortable. So in order for you to regulate, Mum, I have to regulate. Now tell me how a 6-year-old regulates their feelings. They can't. I've been catching babies. I know that sounds a bit chitty chitty bang bang like, but it's not meant to be. I don't like saying deliver, because I don't deliver, the mums do. So I've been catching babies for 16 years, and I've had the most peculiar phone calls. My baby's 3 months and he's still not sleeping through the night. All right. So, and I just want him to take a dummy, you know? And then eventually, oh, I can't believe he's still got a dummy. You say, holding your glass of wine, soothing. The baby must sleep. The baby must do this to regulate my nervous system, when actually the point of a conscious adult is to be the safe container, because children can't regulate their own emotions, not until after 7, not until they're out of theta. We're meant to teach them how to do it by being that safe container. That's why when you're an adult, you can only start healing when you actually feel safe with another human being, and you feel heard, and you feel witnessed, and you feel loved, and you feel safe, and you feel wise. If we can start going within without blaming, and I know it's difficult, because when you start going through the healing process, you can start getting really quite angry at your parents. How dare they treat me like that? And you're allowed to feel that. That's justified. You just feel it. Not I feel this because, just, okay, you feel it. But then we're tempted to go outside and blame the mirror again, instead of going within. Now the problem is, right, let me ask you a very simple question. If there was a 10-month-old here and he was trying to walk and he kept falling over, would you go, oh my God, you suck, get up? No, because they can't. They are trying. Our parents tried the very best with the very limited tools they had. And if we keep judging them, there's nothing wrong with feeling that judgment, because it's your feelings. They are in you. But don't be delusional enough to think they belong to your parents or to the person in front of you that has pissed you off. They are yours. Own them. They are your shadow, and you don't need to carry it around with you. We are constantly looking forward. Did you know people who are constantly looking forward, we call that anxiety. And the people that constantly look in the past, we call that depression, or a better word for that is deep rest. They're in deep rest of the character they think they need to play. And if you've got both, you've got bipolar. It all comes from a separation of self. We think we have thousands of problems, but we only have one, and that is we've forgotten who we are. Look on the level of a cellular body. So as above, so is below. It's just fractals and fractals. We're cells, tissues, organs, and on the molecular layer, we've got atoms and quarks. And as it goes on, and our cells do exactly what our mind tells them to do. So in a body, if a cell goes off and do its own thing, what do we call that? That's called cancer. We have a spiritual malignancy. We might be in separate bodies, guys, but we are not separate. We are all unique. We have one job, and that is to come here and love and cause consciousness to expand. And we do that through different ways. Some by music, some by making amazing haircuts, some by selling clothes, some by talking, some by singing. We are all here for one purpose, and that is to love and to expand consciousness. And if we truly want to do this and see a different trajectory, a different dimension, we all understand quantum physics on a basics level. Has anyone heard of Schrodinger's cat? Right, so Schrodinger's cat, there's a little hypothesis that there's a cat in a box. And at the moment you haven't opened that lid, that cat is dead and alive at the same time. It's called quantum supposition. And the only reason that cat is dead or alive is because of someone viewing it. Our reality is only such when we pay attention to what we want to pay attention to. And if we want to see a better world full of empathy, reverence, love, connection, and unity instead of separation, you have got to look within. I'm going to leave you with a nice little parable. It's one of my favorites. There were two Buddhist monks, and they were on a pilgrimage, and they come across a body of water. And there was a young girl there, and she said, "Can someone help me? I can't swim, and I need to get across this body of water." And the older monk said, "Sure, hop on my shoulders, I'll take you across." So they went across the river. He set the woman down and said bye, and she said thank you, and they went on their way. And the two monks carried on with their pilgrimage. The younger monk, after a few miles, was noticeably irked and was grimacing. 7 hours later, they're still walking, and the young monk went, "Oh, do you know what? I have to say something. You are meant to be celibate. You are not meant to be carrying beautiful women on your shoulders across the water like that. How dare you?" And he said, "My friend, I put her down 7 hours ago. You're still carrying her." Right, my name's Nickita Starck. Thank you for showing up today. And in fact, you've all been a beautiful teacher to me, because it took me 5 hours to get here, and 1 hour in particular to find this boxy place. And it is beautiful. And then I thought I'd burnt my clutch out because I was on a very steep hill, and I'm like, breathe, you are not your body. You are not your mind. You are the awareness behind your mind. And I'm still going, blah, 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 blah. And so thank you for showing up today to listen to me. You have raised my consciousness, certainly. Thank you so much. God bless you. If you would like to find me, my trade is I catch babies, and I teach people to be conscious birth practitioners. You can find me at whenpushcomestosshove.co.uk. You can come and train with me to be a conscious natural birth practitioner, do the inner work, or I have the Unity Project. If you go to whenpushcomestosshove.co.uk, you'll see a tab that says Unity Project. You can start with my mini course, which is a piddly £19.99. I have a Substack. Just look up Nickita, Nickita, Substack. I'm very proud to say, my ego likes this, I got to number 12 in the world for health and wellness. Thank you. I am not my mind. Thank you. And so if you go, you can subscribe to my Substack for free. You'll get about 6-7 articles a month to show you how to do the inner work. And if you really want to go deeper, I have something called Awaken Self Healers, which is just £11.11. Do you like the angel numbers? Yeah? £11.11 a month. And you get to join an awakened community of people healing in real time. I do monthly Zoom sessions. On Monday, I did money, understanding abundance. The month before that, it was relationships. It's all about the inner work, the mirror work, the mind-body-soul connection, and understanding the emotional root cause of your health or lack thereof. So find me, Nickita, Substack, or whenpushcomestosshove.co.uk. I'm when.pushcomestosshove on Instagram, or Nickita Starck Official. I've given you too many bits of information now, so I'm going to shut up. But thank you so much. I will be around here if anyone has any questions. God bless. Thank you so much, and enjoy your weekend. Thank you.